You're listening to the Social Selling Simplified podcast. Stick around if you too are obsessed with learning things that actually work and believe that success leaves clues. We're all about identifying results-producing roadmaps and getting super clear on how to scale and grow your online business. From part-timer to president, social selling expert Ashley Shaw will help you connect the dots and take the guesswork out of what works to grow a social selling empire. It's time to hear from social selling legends, listen in on truthful conversations, and learn the best tips and tricks to reduce the marketing overwhelm so you can build the social selling business of your dreams. If you're ready to go all in, no holding back, and build the business you've always wanted, you're in the right place. Here's your host, educator, social selling guru, and fitness industry OG, Ashley Shaw.
On today's episode of Social Selling Simplified, I couldn't be more excited to introduce you guys to Amber Kindler. Amber is the newest member of the Ashley Shaw team, and there are three main reasons I'm so excited that we have her as a part of the fitness family. And the first is that she's a Beachbody coach. Now, not only is Amber a Beachbody coach, but she's been able to fulfill her dream of taking her business pro. And what I mean by that is Amber has been a teacher, and she was able to fully transition when she went on her maternity leave and go full-time into coaching and be able to stay home with her littles. So that is just such wonderful proof that it's totally possible to take this business and transition it into living the lifestyle that you want. The other thing that I love about Amber is that she comes from a place of being a teacher. And that's something that you really can't replace, someone's ability to break things down, to simplify and make it easy to understand. I would say that that's one of my skill sets as well. So I absolutely love when I see that in other people and being able to reduce the overwhelm and make it easy to take the next steps of action in your business. The third reason that I absolutely love Amber is that she is also a copywriter. So she's able to look at the wording of things, be able to slow the scroll, get people's attention, and to really make people take action with her words. Again, I think we usually look at people that are similar to us and we instantly feel like they get it and they're able to add so much value. And that is the other reason that I absolutely love Amber. So I'm super pumped for you guys to be listening in on this episode today to get to know Amber a little bit more. And you are going to see much more of her on the inside of Business Bootcamp for Fitness Coaches, which is our free community, as well as on the inside of our monthly membership, which is called Social Selling Mastery. You may better know it as the monthly marketing funnel. So without further ado, here's Amber and I having a heart-to-heart chat and getting to know more about her business.
And so we're going to dig into some of the strategies that Amber is using to grow her email list, to attract her tribe, and how to really build a business that has freed up a lot of her time so she can focus on the activities that she loves. She is a lifetime one-star diamond coach as well as a diamond coach. So thank you so much for being here today, Amber.
Yes, thank you so much for having me. I was super excited and I was honored to be your guest today.
Yay, I'm so glad. It's so fun to talk about, I end up talking a lot about health and fitness, marketing, that sort of stuff, but it's really fun when I get somebody that is also in the Beachbody world and has built up a business using the systems that I often geek out around. So yeah. I'm really excited to chat more about that. So maybe we can just start off. Why don't you tell us a little bit about your story and how you got started into coaching?
Yeah, absolutely. So back in high school, I'll just kind of give you the long and short of this story because it could be 3 days long, but I really struggled just with body image, confidence, and just, really loving who I was, which I know sounds cliche, but it's true. And so I kind of went back and forth and yo-yoed and, tried everything under the sun. And just, when I got through college, I just did not feel like myself. I had, been the lowest, most unhealthiest weight, and I had been 60 pounds heavier within a year, and I just did not feel good. And so I got married in June of 2016. I also graduated college, started grad school, and then started my first year of teaching. So to say I was stressed, not confident, broke, all the things, that was me. And when I started teaching, I just had no energy. I came home and got started right on grad school work, and then I would just plop on the couch, and I just did not feel good. And come November of 2016, one of my, I call her acquaintances because that's what she was at the time, and now she's one of my best friends, reached out about her challenge group. And to me, I'm super competitive, so I was like, challenge group? Mm-hmm. I can get down with this. So I said, sure, I'll do it. And I joined and fell in love with Beachbody and the workouts because we live in the country. We're about 25 minutes from civilization. So a gym, not going to happen around here. So just the workouts, the nutrition, but most of all, the community was amazing because living in such a small area, I grew up in a class of 4 and I was the only girl. Wow. So I didn't have a girl gang or a tribe. I didn't think I needed that. But I did. And when I got in there, I absolutely fell in love. So I did challenge groups and worked on my own health and fitness for an entire year and watched coaches and thought to myself, gosh, that would be so much fun. I could totally do that. I know I want to do that someday, but I just never made the move to learn more. So I watched for an entire year. And what held me back was the fear of, oh my gosh, what's my family going to think? What are my friends going to think? What's my husband going to think? They're not even going to know what I'm talking about. And so I remember Christmas break. So I've been doing challenge groups for just over a year. Christmas break in 2017, my husband walks through the door and I said, hey, so what would you think if I was a Beachbody coach? And he goes, I think that's awesome. You love that. Why wouldn't you do that? And I was like, okay, it was that simple. So I signed up that day, December 28th, 2017, and haven't looked back. When I got started, it was from a love of the challenge groups and the community and what it had done for me. So I just kind of started thinking, oh, I'll just do this as a hobby, maybe help a couple people, get a discount. But then I got to thinking, I can do this because I don't like to dip my toe into things. I'm like an all or nothing kind of person. And I got started thinking, when we have kids, do I really want to work full time? Do I really want to do the hustle and bustle, driving 40 plus miles a day? Do I want to do that? And I told myself, no, I didn't. So 2.5 years ago, I told myself I was going to make this business work. And by the time we started a family, I was going to stay home. And I turned in my resignation in March and had our first baby in April. So that dream came through, and I just cannot say enough about coaching and what it did for me and brought me home.
Wow. I love that. Such a great story because I think so many people dream of that. And there's nothing more, I think, satisfying than being able to say, I have the choice. I'm empowered to make that decision. We're sort of in a similar position where my due date is August. And I had thought, you know what, if I could give my husband the opportunity to not go to work, we're in Canada, so we get a paternity leave for a year, but it's like a top up, sort of thing or whatever. And so we made the decision that he was going to take paternity leave and I would just, I'll still be running things in my business, but to have that choice is it's something that I think so many people dream of, and yet it can feel like it's out of reach because you look around and you're so many people maybe in your local circle or community may not have that opportunity, but then you start connecting with this group of coaches and people outside of just your community. And you just see how much is possible when you see other people doing it and how, it's right at your fingertips if you're willing to go all in like you did.
Yeah. And that was kind of what drove me because one of the coaches that I watched, and she's not even a coach on my team, she lives, just up the road in a teeny tiny lake town. And I remember telling myself, if she can do this full time, I can do it full time. So that was one of my driving forces. And I just kept telling myself that.
Well, that's awesome. And so leading up to, you deciding to actually become a coach, I think it's always an interesting dialogue because as we are, tweaking our social media posts and our language and all these things that we do as coaches, there is definitely this fear that you talked about as well, where what are other people going to think? And I think that holds a lot of people back from actually taking action. So it's something that as a coach, we want to be thinking about how to properly deliver that message to help our ideal customers overcome that limiting belief. Yeah. So if you think back to that time, and it's perfect because usually our ideal customers are versions of ourselves, like just a little bit before, what would you have needed to hear to 100% go all in? Now, I know you did, obviously, but what do you think you would have been really good to hear at that moment?
I think at that moment, it would have been good to hear that you don't have to have it all figured out, which I figured out. But like I said, I am an all or nothing person. So when I dove in, I went ham on all the trainings and everything. And it was like, whoa, that's a lot. And so what I wish I would have known then is just jump in, learn as you go. You don't have to be an expert. I'm not an expert now, but you can apply things as you go. And that's what I teach my girls now. I say, I don't care if you have 0 posts on your social media, just start applying what you're learning and you're going to get better, and you can add on like a snowball. You don't have to do all of it at once and be an expert. You just have to keep going, because to me, consistency is absolutely key. And without it, I would not, be here 2.5 years later.
So your fear really came from a place of, if I'm going to do this, it needs to be perfect.
Yeah, I am very much a perfectionist. And that was definitely my fear of, what if it's not perfect? Does it sound perfect? Am I sending these messages in the right way? Am I explaining it right? And now I know that I don't need to worry about that. I just need to explain it the way I would explain it to somebody sitting across the table from me.
Yeah, for sure. So that would definitely be one belief that our ideal customers have out there. What about if someone really is afraid of that fear of rejection, and what their family thinks? And, we all have those people in our lives that, I can think back to this one, I don't know if he was an uncle or cousin, but I remember I was working in network marketing at the time, just starting out. And I had asked him if I could do my knife demonstration for him. And he was like, can we just grab a beer sometime instead? And it left kind of like a bit of a burn of that didn't feel very good, and we remember that stuff because it's so imprinted. Yeah. So what would be your advice around dealing with that fear of rejection, and how do you coach your coaches on how to work through that? Because I think it's there for everyone, no matter what.
For sure. I always tell them, I just say, be open. If it's somebody that you love or, your friends and they don't get it, explain to them why you're doing it and why you love it. And just be honest with them and be you. And they're either going to support you, and that's awesome. And if they don't, that's okay, because they're not paying your bills. They're not the one that's either going to go to work or stay home with your babies. Ultimately, when you look to your future, is what you're working for driving you more, or is that fear driving you more? And so, it still stings if they don't support you even after you've explained it, but that's okay.
Yeah, for sure. I love that. It's are you taking the step out of fear, or, are you taking the step, almost like the example of, I remember I had a business coach that put it perfectly. She was on my podcast earlier in the year, and I'm just trying to think of her exact wording. I think it was either you're fearful and you decide that you're not going to take action, and that's how the fear determines your action, or you're going to do it even though you're afraid, because the fear will still exist in both of those situations. So it's just a matter of how you choose to sort of deal with it.
Yeah. Do it scared.
Exactly. Yeah. And I think there's another part of this that I always try to think about or put myself in. When I used to sell gym memberships and things like that, so always in some sort of sales environment. And I remember sometimes looking at the scripts or things that were put in front of me and thinking, okay, like I can understand where we're trying to go with this. Some of it just doesn't feel right to me, like authentically. I would probably prefer to have this said in just a little bit of a different way. And then I would feel like it would authentically be something I would say. So I think that sometimes we get caught up in that it has to be done an exact way. And that is going to make us even more fearful of like putting ourselves out there. Because I think we've probably all had those experiences where, I don't know if this has ever happened to you, but you like set up a call with someone and you think it's like, oh, we're just getting on a call to chat. And then they try to close you and ask you how you want to pay. And you're like,
no,
what? Where did that come from? Like that came out of nowhere, right? Like, so it, I think that there's that fear that's really real there for people of thinking, not knowing. So they just fill in the gaps how they think things work. And that's not what obviously any of this is at all, but being able to talk through that this is you showing up as yourself first. And then there's tools for you if you want to use them.
Exactly.
That sort of idea.
Exactly. I had one of my teammates give me this compliment, and it's probably the best compliment I've ever had. And she said, "You are the exact same person on social media as you are in person." And to me, I was like, you have no idea how much that means to me. And so I tell my girls that, and I say, there are so many templates and there's this and there's that. Read over it. That's great. Make it you. And I encourage them, I say, use that voice message feature because A, it's faster, your fingers don't get tired, and then they can hear your excitement and you can just let the words flow. So I am the queen of voice messaging, and I think it's the best invention ever for that reason, because it just makes it so much more personable.
Absolutely. The other thing I love about voice messages is that there is a difference between if you are able to be face-to-face with someone and control the speed and tonality of your voice. So let's say with voice message, we're taking away the visual, but you still have the tonality of your voice. Exactly. So you can change the way that you would say something. Or, like, for example, if you were going to end your message with like, which option is best for you, someone could read that and, it just be read a certain way when it comes up in their messages, or they can hear you say it like, so based on all those things, Amber, what do you think would be the best option for you right now? And you can just like soften it up a bit with the way that you say it. So I love that tip. I think that that's gold, using the voice messenger for sure. So what do you think were the key things that you did in your business that took you from, being I'm going to say like the beach body, like wannabe coach that's like willing to go all in, to actually being on the other side of that, of being like a social selling strategist that's like knows what to do to be successful and actually can, like, when you put your mind to it, you go all in and you get results. What do you think that transition sort of looked like for you?
I think for me, it was, when I decided to go all in, I told myself that's going to mean sacrifice. That's going to mean I'm not going to watch shows for 2 hours when I get home. That's going to mean I'm going to have to get my butt up earlier. I'm going to have to work over my lunch break. Or if I don't have recess duty, that's 15 minutes that, usually I could have a break and maybe I'm going to, answer a message or, whatever. So it meant, filling in those gaps, which yes, it takes sacrifice, but now looking back, I would do it all again in a heartbeat. And showing up every single day, doing those daily activities that move your business forward. You're not always pumped up to do it, if you've been up all night or whatever, but just going all in and sticking to that and learning as I go, because social media changes every day. Beachbody has changed over the last 2.5 years. We have so many new tools, and just, learning about it and then implementing it in my own way to make it Amber's way, not every other Beachbody coach's way, and just showing up day after day after day, I think is what helped me get there. And, there were months where it wasn't as strong, or I felt like I was struggling. And you just have to have that mindset of, I am not stopping until I get there. And I definitely had that. And that was what was pushing me, and just consistently showing up for the people that I had by my side. Because even in those months where it was a little bit slower, I had to tell myself, but look at all these lives you already have, that you can already touch and that are already watching you. So that helped me through those times where I was, struggling to get up that hill. That helped me push through too.
Yeah, I think it's interesting because so much of building a business is mindset. And I don't think that I realized this until the last year of working online. And it's interesting that you say that, because I think there's sort of this gut check that you can do. And you ask yourself to be really honest about, is this something that you're 100% going to make happen? Or are you saying to yourself, if it happens? Exactly. Because there's like just this very, very clear distinction. I remember when I first started into my business, I had this dream. I often talk about this on the show, but I had this dream in the middle of the night, and I woke up so convinced that I knew the name of the business. I knew how I was going to help people. Like nobody needed to sit down and have that chat with me, because I had already been there in my mind. And then it just repeated itself over and over again that this was the way. And it sounds like for you, when you decided to go all in, it was like, no one's going to stop you from being able to make that choice. And it doesn't matter what, you're going to make it happen. It's the same, I think, with those people, that are so determined that they have a goal that they want to get to, like their wedding is coming up. It's this tie-in of urgency, as well as being super committed to your goal, and not, because, it's easy to be like, oh, well, it's Friday, I'm going to have a few extra drinks or whatever. Like, it's easy to sway in and out, but you can definitely see the difference when someone is 100% committed. And you could say, if you were to ask them that gut check, are you going to get to your goal? They would be like, you're friggin' right, I am. I'm 100% in. I am getting in that wedding dress. Like, there's no budging. But you can also see those people when you talk to them that are like, well, we'll see what happens. Like, they're very wishy-washy. And I think that you nailed it when you said you decided to go all in. It's so funny. We sometimes rely so much on, well, I don't know if I have the skills and I don't know if I have the resources. Like, it's all up in your head first. Yeah. Like, it'll happen if you truly, truly don't. There's no option B. There's like, this is option A.
Yeah.
Now, do you feel like there was urgency around doing this? I'm assuming there was, because you said you had your son in April, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So when I decided, 2.5 years ago, when we start a family, this is what I want. So family was not even in the mindset, 2.5 years ago. But once it was, and we ended up having to try for over a year. But once we found out we were pregnant, there was so much sense of urgency. Like, I remember being so exhausted pregnant, and I was like, I have to make this happen, because I have 8.5 months and the clock is ticking. But I also knew that this was not going to be an overnight thing. So when I started 2.5 years ago, in my mind, I knew I have to hit the gas pedal right now, because this is not a quick fix, get rich, thing. I have to start building and growing right now, so that when it did come time to hustle, obviously I did, but I already had, so much of that, that track already taken up.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think there's like this piece of urgency that is part of the secret sauce. Sometimes I don't think it's like something that, it will have to be one thing that actually has a deadline. But I do think that giving yourself a deadline can also be, that is attached to something emotional, can be important. When I had set my goal for what I wanted to do, my husband was living a 5-hour flight away, and I knew, like, we're going on 3 years of living apart like this. I don't want to continue this. So I got to create a different map for where I can work from home. And because we now live in a small, like, little sleepy beach town, and there's not a lot of, unless I was going to go back and work at a gym, again, then there weren't a lot of options. So I knew that I did not want to come up upon 3 years and us be having lived apart. It just felt like it was such a, like almost a waste of like so many years of like, we could be, living in the same place. So that date for me was so important that I got things up and running. So I think it is interesting because in these conversations, one of the things I love to do is like pull out like the dots that connect. And it's like, we've got, one about urgency here that just doesn't, having that date and really saying, I am not going to let this date pass without this happening.
Yeah. Talking about, that goal and just, saying it to yourself every single day. I kind of had that just with this vision of, so my husband's a rancher and, the hours are weird. And, if I would have had to stay working my 8 to 4 job, there could have been times, and there would have been times where he might have seen us for 30 minutes at night. And that would have been amongst supper and showering and getting the baby ready. And so for me, having the vision of having that freedom of, if I want to go ride around with him and check the cows with the baby, I can do that. If I want to go on a vacation in December when it's slow for him, I can do that because I have that freedom. And then even taking it further to the dream ranch house that we want to build with the kids and the dogs in the yard. Like, it sounds silly, but I cannot tell you how much that drives me. Mm-hmm. And, I'm not there yet, but that's what's driving me now, even being full-time.
I think what is really interesting about that is the ability to, when you have a goal that you have in mind, being able to take yourself there mentally so many times, because when you do that, then there's no discussing if it's possible or not. Like, your mind is already made up, but then it's almost like in your, whatever it might be, your visualizations, your dreams, your meditations, like you're traveling there, you're spending time, you're taking up space there. So then when you come back to your regular everyday life, like there's no convincing that it's possible if you spend enough time there visualizing. So I think that is also, one of the dots connecting, is that spending time in that place makes you, I think, just so confident that it will happen. Like, that's where you're going because you're already spending time there in your thoughts.
Exactly. And I think another dot too, and I tell my girls this, like, tell your spouse, tell, whoever's closest to you, tell them why you're doing this. Because for me, I was on my phone working some evenings and I had to explain to my husband why I was doing that. And so once I did, and he understood that, he's been my biggest supporter all along, but being able to have those conversations of, this is what we're working for, this is what I'm doing today to get there, this is what I need from you. Like, he just sent me a little bit ago, a picture of this house and one of the ideas he liked from it, so we're on that same page and working towards the same goal together and supporting each other in our businesses, which I think is a huge dot, because I know so many people are scared not only to talk to their spouse about it, but to get into the nitty gritty of this dream and how we're getting there.
Mm-hmm. There's definitely this space that can happen where you either are living in abundance, where you feel like everything is possible. Mm-hmm. And then there's this other space that can happen for different reasons, where we live in a place of scarcity, where we don't think things are possible for us, or that person had a lot of success, so that means I can have that much success. Like, it's this really interesting thing that happens. And usually it starts off in our childhood somewhere. It's something that maybe a parent is repeating, or a teacher, or just somebody in our lives that we hear at once, like, money doesn't grow on trees. You hear that, and then it becomes imprinted in your mind. So sometimes, you're saying, either you have that partner or those people in your life that naturally align with that, which makes the process obviously easier. Yeah. And sometimes you'll have people that you'll start to pick up, oh, I don't know if they believe the same things I believe. And that's definitely it's a harder dialogue. It's a harder conversation. But I think if you can, in those moments, I've noticed with just different people in our lives, like friends and different things like that. They either have that abundance mindset or they don't. But what starts to happen is you sort of notice when somebody is talking out of their limiting beliefs versus they are telling you something that's true.
Ask yourself, like, is this true for me? Like, would I let myself fail? Like, am I going to let that hold me back? Or am I going to just keep pushing forward? And it's hard when you are surrounded by that, because I think we all have some of that in our life, and you can't just kick those people out. But it's kind of another gut check with yourself of, am I going to let that affect me?
Yeah.
Or am I going to take it with a grain of salt and keep trucking along?
Yeah. It's sort of like one of those things. I think that's why the personal development, the listening to podcasts, the meditating, like that stuff is so important, because that will continue to help build those positive pathways in your brain to keep yourself focused on those areas. And then when it comes to those people that, like in your life that just don't have those same beliefs, or they're like, well, you should really have a pension. Don't you think that'd be safe? That sort of stuff, right? You can recognize that they're trying to keep you safe.
Yeah.
Like that is what they're trying to do. And maybe try not to engage in those conversations with them, because they just might not be able to offer you like the advice that you need for where you're at in your life. They're doing their best, no doubt, but I would never ask someone for advice whose life or what I'm asking about, I wouldn't trade, so to ask someone for like business advice about an online business I'm building from someone that's never done it, it's never going to end up, I'm never going to end up hearing the things I want to hear.
Yeah. You're not going to walk away with tips that you can apply.
That's it, right? So it's like really being selective about who you share certain things with, because there are only certain people that can really, really add value to those conversations. And I think that that's where the incredible community of not only coaches, but then, your challengers having each other, they all believe the same thing, that they can, they have this goal, they want to get there, they're willing to do the work. Like if you can align yourself in those groups, then of course you're going to start to get better advice. But even there, it can be tricky, because you get some people in there that again are focused on scarcity and not on abundance. So just being able to, I guess, overall recognize what you're engaging in. And, it's always a good thing to think about, like, what's my energy like after I talk to that person?
Yeah. How do I go home feeling when I leave that conversation?
Yeah, exactly. So if you were to give a newer coach advice on what to do if they're thinking like, okay, like I hear you guys, like you're saying I need to go all in, I really want this to work. What would be one or two steps that you think that they should take right away to actually start going all in?
So the first step would just be show up as yourself. And when I say that, I want you to like write down, just brain dump what makes you you. The little things, the silly things, the big things, the little things. Brain dump what makes you you and share that. Don't try to be the next person. Don't try to, match up to the top coach. Yeah, you can get ideas, but I want you to show up as yourself and then show up consistently. And that means doing all the things, even if it's not always fun, sending the invites, following up, pouring value into people. You have to do it every single day. You can't show up on Mondays and Saturday mornings and not on any other day if you want to make this work. You have to show up every day as yourself and show up for people, whether that's inviting them, sending a weekly, check-in message, shooting them a recipe, whatever it is, adding value and bringing new people in. And I think so many coaches freak out when they hear invite, because I used to think it had to be this long, drawn out, typed message that sounded like perfect, report that you would turn in to your English teacher. No, it can be one sentence from an Instagram story. If you see them watching you or they voted on your poll, hey, I see you voted on my poll. Have you tried this new sample workout yet? Something as simple as that. It does not have to be long and drawn out. And I think that was one of the biggest things that held me up, because for so long I was scared to invite, because I'm like, gosh, this takes forever to type out these messages. But again, it goes back to being yourself and just having that conversation, getting to know them, asking them what their goals are. Because I think really asking those good questions is going to help, not only help them trust you, but you're going to get to the bottom of why they're there and what they want out of this. So those would be my tips for, somebody that's like, okay, let's do this. Let's go all in.
I love it. Okay. So, and I want to break these down even just a little bit further. So the first one, showing up as yourself. I think that the inviting process is, we, like you said, we think we have to be in this like constant, hey girl hustle, or sending these super long messages. It's time consuming, all these things. And then to get ghosted, or, that fear of rejection that comes with all that. Like, I think that really making sure that every coach out there knows that there are multiple ways to make this happen. And if you're somebody that prefers like the warm up sequence and that sort of thing, like there is a way for you to be successful doing this. I have my own sort of story with the Hey Girl Hustle, because when I first got started out, I had been working in the fitness industry, and a friend of mine, we just connected. I interviewed her for my blog, and she was a Beachbody coach. So we just got talking about business and all things health and fitness. And she had sort of filled me in on some of the needs her coaches had around their messaging, what to say, and that sort of idea. And so I got started out thinking, okay, like I got to Hey Girl Hustle other Beachbody coaches to get in front of their teams and do training. Like that's how I'm going to get myself out there. So I went through this Hey Girl Hustle of my own. And in doing so, I realized, one, that when I could actually connect with a team, it was the best feeling in the world. Like there's something on the other side of that when you can connect with someone that is like, if that's what you're truly passionate about, you will be successful because you will keep going after it because you love it, right? Yeah. But the other thing was, I sort of realized that if I wanted to grow my business, I had to figure out some ways that I could get in front of more people more often and warm them up. And I think that that's where my Facebook community really started to blossom. And I thought, well, if I can go in there, I can just teach them stuff. I can be of value. Yeah, that is going to help warm them up before I ask them to do something as well. Or, it gives me a little bit of a chance. And I know that you're a big fan of Facebook groups and building that community. So is that what you would use your Facebook groups for as well?
Yes, we have a free Facebook community, and all of our challengers and coaches from our entire team are in there. But then there's also people who maybe I'm chatting and they're like, this just isn't the right time, or maybe I just want to feel it out, or, I'm doing this workout right now, but maybe in the future. I say, join this group. We are showing up in there every day, and you can just get a feel for it. And like you said, I can pop a recipe in there, or I can go live, or literally I posted in there a mom question, because I was a new mom and I don't even remember what it was. It might have been something about a diaper rash, but I was like, moms, help me out. Just things like that, because yes, it's health and fitness, but it's life. When I explain this to people, I say we do life together, because we seriously do.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah, I think that if anything should provide some coaches with that, just a glimmer of hope that it doesn't have to be only one way, that you're just inviting only and you don't have this other support system. Because I think that I love Facebook communities for that. You can just be warming people up. And then the added step to that, which I know we were talking about earlier, was about getting their email. And you could get it with either you have what I call a freebie, which could be shake recipes or a workout or something like that you want them to take part in. And also I love to collect emails on the way into your Facebook group. Yeah. So how have you found that emails have been a big part of your strategy?
I think, well, first of all, you never know what's going to happen with Instagram or Facebook. If we woke up one morning and poof, they were gone, what would you do? Mm-hmm. So I heard somebody say that about a year ago, and that's when I was like, okay, I am getting every single person's email. So I have it in 2 different places because I do not want to lose it. But I think you can just be so much more personable in an email because it's coming right from you, right to their inbox. It's not blasted for the whole world to see. So I can give them more of what they need. And I can also, be a little bit more, 1 week in my newsletter, I might focus more on nutrition, or this weekend I might focus on healthy barbecue recipes, just things that they are needing. And I know that when I wake up to emails like that, I'm like, okay, yeah, I am totally checking this out. I am totally making those burgers this weekend, whatever. Just really serving them because that's what this is all about. So I have people that I have talked to for 2.5 years that still haven't joined me, but I continue to serve them in that email every week. And when they message me and say, thanks for that recipe, that was so good, or whatever, like, even though they're not in my group yet, like, that makes me feel good. And I know that if I just keep showing up for them and serving them in there, it's helping them regardless, but I hope someday they'll join. And I think you can just be a little bit more intimate in that setting as opposed to social media, which is still great, but.
Yeah, I love that. I think that it's so true. Like, what if because it happens, right? Like, your account gets shut down, or Instagram and Facebook, like, the algorithms change. And that was a big thing for a lot of coaches that were in Beachbody like 10 years ago. The algorithm has changed so very much. And posts being shown, like, that delivery rate is so low. So it's like, you don't want to be a one-trick pony in this. You want to have different ways to get in front of people. So I love thinking about it that way. Like, what if your business what if Facebook were to disappear? Would you have a different way that you communicate with people? And I think what I love most about email as well, besides that point, is like, you own it versus you rent it, is that it can allow me to have people in my funnel that I am consistently like warming up, moving down to them getting closer and closer to buying, but I don't have to send a hey girl message to them, like, and all those other people that are in that funnel. Like, it almost like it automates it. It does the work for you, and you can still show up and serve, but you're not having to, especially for people that are like, I don't have a lot of time. I have some time, but I don't have a lot of time. It's like, oh man, start a Facebook group, start an email list. Like, that's going to save you guys so much time.
Yeah. And I have my, my giant email list, and I have my customers and my coaches tagged, and then I have my prospects tagged. So I can go in every month and send them even a little bit more, warming them up, showing them what we've got going on, telling them when my next group starts, and kind of tailoring that for them also, so that I can just keep serving, because, they want to know that if I do buy and I do join her, like, I'm going to get something out of it. So showing them that beforehand, super important.
Yeah, absolutely. That consistency. And they say too, it takes like someone seeing something 11 times now before they take action. Yeah. So you think about it, if you can combine your Facebook group, your social media posts, and your emails all happening, like, how much quicker your people will see your message and your call to action. Because if you're just relying on Facebook, I was talking to a guy actually that he has a marketing agency. He was on the podcast last week, Eric Cooperman, and he was saying that when they set up like social media campaigns they run like Red Bull and a lot of these big companies, that the organic social media reach now is like something like 0.1%. Mm-hmm. So like, you think about it, we've spent all this time building up a big audience and connecting with people, and yet it's like less than 1% now that see your message. So it's really important to have those, I call them funnel, like, so that when they come in, there's a way for you to capture them and, make sure that they see you. And then that's where your second point definitely comes in, is it being really, really consistent. Mm-hmm. Because I think sometimes I know I get in this mode sometimes, you post something once and you're like, everyone knows that that's happening now.
Yep.
No, like, they don't, because I get emails later that are like, oh, is that over? I didn't know. I didn't get the email. And you're like, oh, shoot, they didn't see the social post. And then, so it's like, you got to be consistently showing up to make sure your people see you.
Yes, absolutely. And I even go, with my monthly groups, my weekly email, I have a little section at the bottom, and, every week I'm like, oh, that's, it's super repetitive, but I'm like, but it needs to be in there because maybe they didn't read the first week's email to the bottom and they read the third week, and it's still there telling them that this is the July group you can join and here's how you do it. And so, and I teach my team that too. I say, you're going to feel repetitive. You're going to feel like you're beating a dead horse, but it's okay because not everybody's going to listen to it all 12 times that you say it. And if they do, obviously they're still listening, so they must be getting something from it.
It's so true. Right, because then you look at that and email open rates are on average about 20%. That's only 20% of the people that are in your funnel that are actually seeing your message. So it needs to be repetitive and consistent, and they need to see you as that like sort of steady Eddie, like, yeah, like keeping on with the messaging. So Amber, where is the best place for people to find you and follow you and learn more about you?
So you can follow me on Instagram. It's just at Amber Kindler, and then the same on Facebook. I have my Facebook business page on there. And those are really the two, best places to find me and where I like to hang out the most.
Amazing. Well, I have to say you've provided so many connections, I think, with what really makes a successful coach and somebody that can like truly say, this is how you set yourself up to quit your job if that's what you're looking to do and set up that freedom. So thank you so much for taking the time to chat with my listeners today. This is going to be an episode that they're definitely going to want to listen to again and make sure they're taking lots of notes on.
Well, thank you so much for having me. It was super fun to be honored to be on your podcast.
Yay. Thank you.
If you're ready to turn your Beachbody dream into a Beachbody business, I have something special for you. Business Boot Camp for Fitness Coaches will help you overcome the overwhelm of never knowing what to post so you can show up consistently on social, get off the icky hey girl hamster wheel, and finally see more engagement from customers who enthusiastically slide into your DMs to join you. This Facebook group is totally free to join. Head to ashleyshaw.ca/bootcamp to sign up now. And just for joining, you'll get 5 totally templated social media posts that work, accountability and camaraderie in our private Facebook group, and that post-workout feeling of accomplishment. See you there. Again, you can head to ashleyshaw.ca/bootcamp to sign up now.